The betrayal. The starship Prometheus cut through the void like a silver arrow, its quantum drives pulsing with brilliant blue light. On the observation deck, Ambassador Elena Reyes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, dark eyes fixed on the massive structure growing larger in the view screen. The galactic conglomerate's central station, Nexus Prime, hummed against the backdrop of stars like an enormous metallic snowflake, its countless spires and docking ports extending outward in geometric precision. Quite the sight, isn't it? Captain Marcus Chen moved to stand beside her, his uniform crisp and bearing Earth's emblem, a blue planet wrapped in a double helix of stars. Magnificent, Elena replied, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves in her stomach. Humanity's first seat at the interstellar table. She absently touched the silver pin on her collar, Earth's new official emblem as a spacefaring civilization. After just 87 years since achieving faster-than-light travel, humanity had been granted an audience with the galactic conglomerate, a coalition of 31 advanced species that govern most of the known galaxy. Ambassador. The ship's AI announced through hidden speakers, incoming transmission from Nexus Prime Control. A holographic display materialized before them, revealing a being with glistening purple skin and 4 symmetrical eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Tendrils that might have been hair or sensory organs swayed gently around its head. Earth Vessel Prometheus. This is Nexus Prime Control. Your approach vector is confirmed. Proceed to Docking Bay E-117. An escort awaits to guide you to your accommodations. Welcome to the heart of galactic civilization. Transmission acknowledged. Nexus Control. We are honored by your welcome, Elena responded, maintaining the formal diplomatic tone she'd rehearsed countless times. As the hologram faded, Captain Chen raised an eyebrow. Ready to make history, Ambassador. Elena nodded, straightening her shoulders. Earth has waited long enough for this moment. The docking procedure went flawlessly, the Prometheus settling into its berth with barely a tremor. Elena stood at the airlock with her diplomatic team. Dr. Sanjay Patel, Earth's leading xenobiologist, Commander Diane Washington, her security chief, and Thomas Kim, her chief advisor on interstellar relations. Remember, Elena said quietly, observe everything, but be careful what you share. We're newcomers here, and first impressions matter. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss, revealing their welcoming committee. 3 distinctly different alien beings. The tallest stood over 2 meters, with translucent skin that revealed pulsing organs and crystalline bone structures. Beside it floated a being that seemed composed of interconnected geometric shapes, constantly shifting and realigning. Between them stood a more humanoid figure, with copper-toned skin and eyes like liquid mercury. I am Trellnax, said the copper-skinned alien, touching its chest in what Elena recognized as a universal gesture of greeting. Senior diplomatic liaison to new species. These are my associates, Elder Zix of the Crystalline Collective and Geometric Interpreter Vosh of the Axiom Consciousness. Elena bowed slightly. I am Ambassador Elena Reyes of Earth, representing humanity. These are my colleagues. She introduced each member of her team with practiced precision. As they followed their guides through the vast, humming corridors of Nexus Prime, Elena marveled at the diversity of life forms moving about their business. Beings composed of living metal conversed with creatures of pure energy contained in hovering field generators. Massive tentacled entities shared space with tiny, glittering beings no larger than her hand. The conglomerate currently hosts representatives from 31 spacefaring civilizations, Trellnax explained as they walked. Some have been members for millennia, while others, like the Saurians of Proxima Centauri, joined only a century ago. And now humanity seeks to join their ranks, Thomas Kim remarked. Something flickered across Trellnax's mercury eyes, too quick to identify. Yes, the alien replied. Your petition for recognition has generated significant interest. Elena noted the careful choice of words. I hope that interest is positive. Change always brings varying perspectives. Ambassador Trell Max responded diplomatically. Your accommodations have been prepared in the diplomatic quarter. The Grand Assembly will convene tomorrow at what you would call 0900 hours to hear Earth's petition. As they continued their tour, Elena couldn't help but notice the reactions they received from other aliens. Some approached with obvious curiosity, while others maintained a deliberate distance. A group of insectoid beings with iridescent carapaces chittered excitedly among themselves when the humans passed, their translator nodes blinking rapidly. The Zakari are particularly interested in your species, Trell Max explained. They specialize in evolutionary patterns and find humanity's development curve fascinating. I've been studying the material you provided on conglomerate species, Dr. Pidal said eagerly. The diversity is remarkable. I'd love to speak with some of your xenobiologists about. All in good time. Trell Max interrupted smoothly. For now, you must rest and prepare for tomorrow's assembly. Commander Washington had remained silent throughout the exchange, but Elena noticed her eyes constantly scanning their surroundings, assessing potential threats. When they passed a patrol of security drones, sleek, hovering machines with multiple sensor arrays, Washington's hand instinctively moved closer to her sidearm. Is something wrong, Commander? Trell Max asked, those mercury eyes missing nothing. Standard procedure, Washington replied evenly. I'm responsible for the ambassador's safety. There has never been violence within Nexus Prime. Helder Zix spoke for the first time, its crystalline voice tinkling like wind chimes. Your weapons are unnecessary here. Elena intervened smoothly. It's simply our protocol, Elder Zix, just as you have yours. The diplomatic quarters assigned to the Earth delegation were spacious and had been designed with impressive attention to human comfort. Gravity, temperature, and atmospheric composition perfectly matched Earth standard. The furnishings, while clearly alien in design, had been adapted to accommodate human physiology. Your attention to detail is appreciated, Elena told Trell Max as the liaison prepared to leave them. The conglomerate prides itself on hospitality, Trell Max replied. A delegation will arrive at 800 hours tomorrow to escort you to the Grand Assembly. Until then, these quarters are your domain. When the doors slid shut behind their guides, Commander Washington immediately activated a security sweep, checking for surveillance devices. Thomas Kim raised an eyebrow, but didn't object. Standard procedure, Washington echoed her earlier words, the corner of her mouth lifting slightly. Dr. Patel wandered to the viewport, gazing out at the spectacular view of distant stars and the graceful arcs of ships approaching and departing Nexus Prime. It's remarkable. 31 civilizations working together in harmony. Apparent harmony, Thomas cautioned. Remember, every species here has its own agenda. Including us, Elena reminded them, sinking into a chair that automatically adjusted to support her form. Let's review our strategy for tomorrow. As they discussed their approach to the Grand Assembly, Elena's thoughts kept returning to the subtle reactions she'd observed, the careful choice of words from Trell Max, the whispered conversations that stopped when humans approached, the way certain species seemed to avoid them entirely. Later that night, after her team had retired to their individual quarters, Elena sent a brief, encrypted message back to Earth. Arrived safely. Reception polite but reserved. Undercurrents suggest caution advisable. Proceeding as planned. She didn't know then that it would be her last communication home. The Grand Assembly Hall of Nexus Prime defied human architectural understanding. The circular chamber seemed to exist partially in higher dimensions, with sections that appeared and disappeared depending on one's viewing angle. Thousands of representatives from across the galaxy occupied tiered sections that spiraled upward and inward simultaneously. Advanced holographic interfaces provided real-time translations, while atmospheric barriers maintained the specific environmental needs of each delegation. Elena stood on the presentation platform at the center, her voice steady as she addressed the assembled representatives. Behind her, Captain Chen, and her diplomatic team watched with carefully controlled expressions. Esteemed members of the galactic conglomerate, Elena began, her words echoing through the vast chamber. I bring greetings from Earth. We come seeking neither charity nor conquest, but connection. We are young among the stars by your measure, but we bring fresh perspectives and an unwavering spirit of exploration. As she spoke, Elena noticed subtle shifts in the chamber's atmosphere. When she detailed humanity's rapid technological progress, from first achieving spaceflight to faster-than-light travel in less than 2 centuries, murmurs rippled through several delegations. From our first primitive tools to quantum communication in less than 12,000 years, humanity has demonstrated an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. Elena continued. We believe this drive, this limitless potential, can benefit all species through mutual exchange and cooperation. At the words limitless potential, a distinct ripple of unease passed through several delegations. The insectoid Zakari clicked their mandibles rapidly, while the crystalline beings shifted colors in what Elena recognized as their form of agitated communication. Unknown to Elena, deep within the secure chambers of Nexus Prime, automatic assessment algorithms had begun cataloging human developmental patterns, comparing them against historical data from thousands of species. Warning indicators flashed on private screens viewed by senior conglomerate members. A classification appeared alongside humanity's file. Theta Protocol Candidate. In conglomerate security nomenclature, Theta Protocol had been invoked only 7 times in its 12,000-year history, each time dealing with species deemed to pose an existential risk to galactic stability. As Elena concluded her address to polite, if reserved, applause, she felt cautiously optimistic. The seeds of diplomatic relations had been planted, yet she didn't notice the subtle signals being exchanged among certain conglomerate officials, or the security drones that had begun monitoring the human delegation more closely. That evening, as Elena reviewed her notes in preparation for the next day's discussions, Captain Chen approached with a concerned expression. Something wrong, Captain? She asked, setting aside her data tablet. Maybe nothing, he replied, keeping his voice low. But the Prometheus reports unusual scanning patterns directed at our systems, and our request to bring additional security personnel aboard Nexus Prime was denied. Elena frowned slightly. Standard procedure for newcomers, perhaps. Perhaps, Chen said, not sounding convinced. But I'd suggest caution, Ambassador. Not everyone here seems pleased by humanity's arrival. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime announcing a visitor. The door slid open to reveal Trellmax, accompanied by 2 other conglomerate officials Elena hadn't met. Ambassador Reyes. Trellmax's mercury eyes shifted rapidly. I'm pleased to inform you that the conglomerate has arranged a special diplomatic reception in your honor tonight. All senior representatives will attend. Elena exchanged a quick glance with Chen before responding. I'm honored. Please convey my appreciation. When the door closed behind Trellmax, Chen stepped closer. I don't like it. This reception wasn't on any schedule, which makes it the perfect opportunity to speak directly with conglomerate leaders, Elena countered. If something's happening, I need to know what. What Elena and her team couldn't know was that deep within the secure core of Nexus Prime, 15 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy had already made their decision. It is settled, announced the ancient Moven representative, its consciousness spread across multiple bodies that spoke in perfect unison. Humanity has been classified as a Theta-level civilization threat. The containment protocols will be implemented immediately. What of the 7 species who oppose this action? Asked the gaseous Volrai representative, its containment field pulsing with agitation. They will be informed after the operation is complete, replied the Moven coldly. Security protocols demand compartmentalization. As the meeting concluded, a silent signal transmitted throughout Nexus Prime. In hidden chambers, specialized operatives prepared. Security systems were subtly reconfigured, and a particularly elegant neurotoxin, one that would leave no trace detectable by human technology, was carefully loaded into delivery systems designed to activate during the diplomatic reception. The reception hall of Nexus Prime gleamed under the light of artificial stars that floated near the vaulted ceiling, each pulsing with different colored light that cast rainbow patterns across the gathered dignitaries. Alina entered with measured steps, nodding respectfully to the assembled alien representatives. She wore her formal diplomatic attire, a midnight blue suit accented with silver thread that caught the starlight. Ambassador Reyes greeted Trellnax, approaching with arms outstretched in the human gesture of welcome that Alina had taught him. "You honor us with your presence. Please, your seat is at the primary table." Alina noticed that Captain Chen and her security detail were directed to separate tables far across the room, a subtle but effective way to isolate her. She caught Chen's eye briefly. His slight nod told her he'd noticed it too. The central table was a crescent of material that resembled polished obsidian but seemed to glow from within. Seated around it were the highest officials of the conglomerate races. Alina was placed between the gaseous Volrai ambassador, whose containment suit hummed softly, and a massive reptilian being whose scales clinked against ceremonial armor as it shifted to acknowledge her with a grunt. A historic occasion, announced the ancient Movin, rising from the center seat. The being's multiple bodies spoke in perfect synchronization, creating an eerie chorus effect. The first human to dine in the Hall of Celestial Union. Servers glided forward, some organic, others clearly robotic, carrying platters of exotic foods from 100 worlds. Before each guest, they placed dishes specifically prepared for their biology. Alina's meal looked surprisingly Earth-like, something resembling roasted vegetables and a protein that had been shaped to resemble Terran fish. "We've studied your biological requirements extensively," explained Trellnax, who stood nearby rather than taking a seat. "This meal was created specifically for human consumption." Alina noticed a slight tremor in Trellnax's hand, almost imperceptible. But the copper-skinned alien's mercury eyes shifted color more rapidly than usual. He knows something, Alina realized. Something's wrong. As was diplomatic custom, Alina waited until the ancient Movin took the first bite before reaching for her own utensil, a sleek implement that adjusted its shape to better fit her hand when she touched it. "Before we eat," interrupted the reptilian diplomat beside her, its voice a rumbling growl, a toast to new beginnings. Goblets of varying shapes and sizes were distributed, each containing liquids tailored to different biologies. Alina received a crystal flute filled with a pale blue liquid that sparkled under the starlight. As she raised the glass, Alina noticed something troubling. The security drones had positioned themselves strategically around the room, their sensor arrays all focused on the human delegation. On the far side of the hall, she glimpsed Commander Washington tensing subtly, her hand dropping below the table. In that moment, Alina made a decision. With a practiced movement that appeared natural, she activated the emergency beacon hidden within her diplomatic insignia, a device designed to send one final, encrypted message to Earth if activated. "To new beginnings," she echoed, raising her glass in salute but not bringing it to her lips, "and to understanding between civilizations." The ancient Movin's multiple eyes fixed on her with an unreadable expression. "Indeed, Ambassador, to understanding, and to necessary sacrifices for the greater good." The Reckoning. 6 days after all contact with Ambassador Reyes and the Prometheus was lost, Earth launched its response. The warship Nemesis emerged from the quantum fold with deadly grace, its matte black hull absorbing, rather than reflecting the distant starlight. 2 sister ships, Retribution and Judgment, materialized in perfect formation beside it, their weapon systems humming to life as they approached Nexus Prime. On the command deck of the Nemesis, Commander Alexis Jackson stood with her hands clasped behind her back, ice in her veins and fire in her eyes. The holographic display before her showed the massive galactic conglomerate station growing larger with each passing moment. "Multiple ships moving to intercept," reported Lieutenant Quan from Tactical, reading energy signatures consistent with weapons charging. "Shields at maximum. Jackson ordered calmly, "but hold fire unless fired upon." The communications officer turned in her seat. "Commander, incoming transmission from Nexus Prime Control." A holographic figure materialized, the same purple-skinned, four-eyed being that had greeted the Prometheus a week earlier. "Earth vessels, this is Nexus Prime Control. Your approach is unauthorized. Power down your engines and prepare to be escorted to designated holding position. This is Commander Alexis Jackson of the Earth Defense Force vessel Nemesis," she replied, her voice like steel wrapped in silk. "We are here to investigate the disappearance of our diplomatic delegation. Your cooperation would be appreciated." A brief pause, and then, "We regret to inform you that the Earth vessel Prometheus suffered a catastrophic engine malfunction. There were no survivors. We were preparing to send formal notification." "Convenient timing," Jackson interrupted, her dark eyes narrowing. "We'll conduct our own investigation." "That won't be possible," the controller responded. "Debris has been collected and processed according to conglomerate protocols. However, we extend our deepest sympathies." Jackson cut the transmission with a gesture. "They're lying," she said to her bridge crew. And not very convincingly. Colonel Rivera, her second-in-command, stepped forward. "What's our play?" Jackson studied the tactical display, noting the positions of the intercepting vessels. "Deploy the Ghosts." Deep within the Nemesis, 12 sleek, matte black pods were launched silently into space. Each contained a single occupant, members of Earth's elite infiltration force known as Ghosts. Their stealth suits rendered them nearly invisible to most known detection systems, and their neural implants allowed them to interface directly with any technology they encountered. As the conglomerate security vessels surrounded the 3 visible Earth ships, the Ghosts slipped undetected through Nexus Prime's outer defensive grid, their pod engines leaving no heat signature to track. Ghost Team leader Maya Santos guided her pod toward a maintenance airlock on the station's lower quadrant. Phase 1 commencing. She subvocalized, the words transmitting directly to Commander Jackson via quantum-entangled particles, a communication method impossible to intercept or detect. "Acknowledged," came Jackson's reply in her mind. "Find the truth, Ghost 1." Santos and her team infiltrated Nexus Prime with practiced efficiency, their augmented reflexes and enhanced senses allowing them to avoid security measures designed for conventional intruders. Their primary objective: access the station's central data core and recover any information about what had happened to Ambassador Reyes and her team. What they didn't expect to find was Elena Reyes herself, or rather, her final message. "Commander," Santos' voice echoed in Jackson's mind. "We found something." Patching through now. A holographic image flickered to life on the Nemesis bridge. Ambassador Reyes, her expression grave, her uniform disheveled. "This message is keyed to Earth Defense Force quantum signatures." The hologram began. "If you're receiving this, I'm already dead. The galactic conglomerate has classified humanity as a Theta-level threat, a designation they reserve for species they believe will destabilize their power structure. They voted to eliminate Earth's delegation and are preparing a fleet to contain humanity, their euphemism for genocide." Jackson's face remained impassive, but her hands tightened into fists behind her back. "I've learned that our rapid technological advancement terrifies them," the hologram continued. "Their predictive models suggest we would become the dominant species within 3 centuries, something they cannot allow. The reception tonight is a trap. I've gathered as much intelligence as possible and stored it in this emergency beacon. Earth must be warned. Earth must be ready." The hologram flickered, and Elena leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "There's one more thing. Something I discovered in their secure archives. The conglomerate has been deliberately suppressing technological advancement across the galaxy for millennia. Any species that develops too quickly is eliminated. We're not the first, and we won't be the last unless someone stops them." The message ended, and for a moment, the bridge of the Nemesis was utterly silent. Confirmation of the message's authenticity. Jackson finally asked. 100%, Colonel Rivera replied. Quantum signature verification complete. That was Ambassador Reyes. Jackson's eyes hardened. So they murdered our people and planned to attack Earth. She turned to tactical. Lieutenant Quan, are the Umbra devices ready? Yes, Commander. All 3 ships report Umbra systems at full capacity. Jackson nodded once. Begin the countdown. Inform the ghosts they have 20 minutes to extract. Colonel Rivera stepped closer, lowering his voice. Are we sure about this? The Umbra hasn't been field tested on this scale. Consider this the field test, Jackson replied. They'd left us no choice. On Nexus Prime, alarms suddenly blared as the station's security systems detected the unauthorized access to their central data core. Ghost Team Leader Santos and her squad were already moving, slipping through maintenance ducts and service corridors as security drones flooded the main passageways. Extraction window closing. Santos subvocalized to her team. Plan B moved to secondary extraction points. As they navigated the labyrinthine interior of the massive station, Santos caught glimpses of the panic spreading among the alien diplomats and staff. Emergency announcements in multiple languages echoed through the corridors. Security breach in Central Archives. All diplomatic personnel returned to quarters. Defense fleet to battle stations. Unidentified Earth vessels detected. They've realized what's happening. Santos fought grimly, slipping past a patrol of crystalline security officers whose bodies pulsed with alarmed red light. Outside the station, the 3 Earth warships had positioned themselves in a perfect equilateral triangle around Nexus Prime. Despite being outnumbered 5-1 by conglomerate vessels, they had made no aggressive moves. Yet, on the bridge of the Nemesis, Commander Jackson opened a channel to the approaching conglomerate fleet. This is Commander Jackson of Earth. We have recovered Ambassador Reyes' final message detailing your plans to commit genocide against my species. We know you murdered our diplomats. We know about your Theta protocol. The response was immediate. A barrage of energy weapons fire from the nearest conglomerate vessels. The shields of the Earth ships flared brilliant blue, but held steady. As expected, Jackson remarked calmly, "They're not interested in talking." She turned to her weapons officer. "All ships, activate Umbra devices." From each Earth vessel, a small spherical probe launched quietly into space. To the conglomerate sensors, they appeared as insignificant debris, easily overlooked amid the building battle. Ghost Team status, Jackson subvocalized. 30 seconds to extraction, came Santos' reply. The conglomerate fleet pressed their attack, their weapons growing more coordinated. The Retribution's shields began to buckle under the assault. Umbra countdown at 10 seconds, reported Lieutenant Quan. Ghosts extracted, Santos confirmed in Jackson's mind. All ships prepare for quantum fold, Jackson ordered. On my mark. Now. The 3 Earth vessels disappeared in flashes of brilliant blue light, leaving behind only the 3 innocuous-looking Umbra probes. On the conglomerate command vessel, Admiral HFY chittered victoriously to his crew. The humans flee. As predicted, their technology is impressive, but their resolve is weak. Track their quantum signature. Admiral, interrupted a sensor officer, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns from 3 points surrounding the station. Analyze, HFY ordered, his compound eyes narrowing with sudden concern. Before the officer could respond, the space around Nexus Prime changed. The 3 Umbra devices, humanity's most closely guarded technological secret, activated simultaneously. They didn't attack the station or the fleet directly. Instead, they targeted the very fabric of space-time around them. Stars began to fade from view, not one by one, but in cascading waves, as if someone had dropped a stone into a pond of light. Darkness spread from each Umbra device, enveloping ships, engulfing the station, swallowing light itself. This was no conventional weapon. The Umbra devices created localized regions where the universal constant governing the speed of light was temporarily altered, where light slowed to a crawl and effectively ceased to propagate. No light meant no communications, no sensors, no weapons targeting, and most critically, no power generation for systems dependent on photovoltaic principles. Nexus Prime and the entire conglomerate fleet were plunged into absolute darkness. 3 days later, Commander Jackson stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her posture perfect, her expression resolute. The operation was a complete success, she reported. The Umbra devices performed beyond expectations. Nexus Prime and a conglomerate fleet remain in darkness. Based on our calculations, the effect will persist for approximately 3 months. General Takahashi leaned forward. Casualties? None on our side, Jackson replied. As for the conglomerate, their life support systems should function on backup power for several weeks. We estimate 85% survival rate, assuming they manage their resources efficiently. And the message we left them? Asked Counselor Rodriguez. Jackson's lips curved in the barest hint of a smile. Delivered as instructed. When the darkness finally lifts, they'll find our terms waiting. Recognition of Earth as a sovereign power, reparations for our murdered diplomats, and a complete restructuring of the conglomerate's policy on technological suppression. And if they refuse? Counselor Chen's voice was quiet but carried throughout the chamber. Then we demonstrate that the Umbra devices can be calibrated to affect their homeworlds as well, Jackson answered without hesitation. We can bring darkness to any star system in the galaxy. The council chamber fell silent as the implications settled over them. Humanity had joined the galactic community just weeks ago as supplicants seeking recognition. Now they held the power to bring darkness to the stars themselves. There's something else you should know, Jackson added. According to the data retrieved by the Ghost Team, there are at least 7 other species currently classified under the Theta Protocol. Civilizations deemed too innovative, too quick to advance. Some have already been partially contained, their populations decimated, their technological progress deliberately sabotaged. You're suggesting an alliance, General Takahashi stated. Jackson nodded. These species have suffered under conglomerate tyranny for centuries. Together, we could forge a new galactic order, one that celebrates progress rather than fears it.